Dust clung to the air like smoke from a fire that never burned out. The streets of the little Alabama town, settled deep in the Black Belt, carried a heat that pressed down like an iron brand. Folks moved slow in that heat, speaking softer than they meant to, because voices carried far when the land was this flat. But on that particular afternoon, the silence was cut open by laughter, harsh, barking laughter that rolled out of the town's only gym, the makeshift boxing hall built out of an old feed barn. Inside, the men were circling like coyotes, sweaty from the morning's sparring, the dull thud of fists against leather bags still echoing. The place smelled of dust, blood, and whiskey spilled too often. At the center stood Jack Black Belt Carroway, a man whose reputation was stitched into every scar across his face. He wasn't called Black Belt because of any polished Eastern tradition. He was a brawler, a bare-knuckle fighter, a man who'd fought his way across towns and left broken men in his wake. His name was carried from county to county, whispered with both fear and admiration. Jack was a spectacle, and he knew it. The crowd followed him like moths to a flame, and he never missed a chance to fan the fire. That day, though, he looked for a different kind of entertainment. His eyes fell on a woman who had walked into the gym by accident, or at least that's what everyone thought. She was plain, her dress dusty from travel, bonnet hiding her face, hands folded like she'd been raised under a preacher's roof. Jack grinned, his teeth flashing. Well now, he drawled loud enough for everyone to hear. Don't this beat all? A simple woman wandering into a man's hall. Tell me, miss, you come to scrub the floors or watch the men sweat? The crowd roared with laughter. She didn't flinch. She didn't smile either. Her eyes lifted, steady, gray like storm clouds building behind the horizon. Jack, drunk on his own mockery, pointed at her. Tell you what, boys, why don't I make it interesting? Let's see if this little lady's got any fight in her. Ain't no shame in walking away, miss. But if you step in, I promise I'll go easy. It was meant as a joke, a cruel spectacle to rile the room. The men cheered, pounding fists on the wooden posts, chanting for her to step into the ring. Everyone expected her to shake her head, retreat in embarrassment, maybe even cry. But she didn't. She set down her small bundle on the dirt floor, untied her bonnet, and stepped forward without a word. The room stilled. For the first time, Jack's grin faltered. You ain't serious, he muttered. But she was. The fight began as a farce. Jack moved slow, exaggerating his swings like a wolf teasing prey. The crowd jeered, some shouting for him to knock her down quick, others egging him to drag it out. But the woman moved different, sharp, precise. She slipped past his jabs without breaking a sweat, her eyes locked on his chest, reading him like a book. The first blow she landed was so fast most men didn't see it. A snap of her knuckles across his jaw, quick as lightning, clean as a whistle. Jack staggered, stunned not by the pain but by the audacity. The crowd went silent. Jack laughed it off, rubbing his jaw, but his laughter was hollow. He came in harder, fists like sledgehammers, the way he'd dropped countless men before. She met him with a stillness that unnerved him, stepping aside with the calm of someone who'd seen violence more times than she cared to count. Another strike, this time to his ribs, drove the air from his lungs. Who the hell are you? He hissed. She didn't answer. The room that had moments ago been full of drunken joy now held its breath. Every man's eyes widened as Jack, the undefeated brawler of the Black Belt, was toyed with like a schoolboy. He swung again, desperate, and she caught his arm, twisting it with a skill that didn't belong in a barn fight. Jack dropped to one knee, the sound of it echoing through the rafters. Gasps filled the hall. No one had ever seen him fall. The woman stepped back, calm as ever, giving him room to rise. Her silence was louder than the rowdiest cheers. Jack's pride burned hotter than the Alabama sun. He launched himself forward, rage replacing his swagger, fists wild, breath ragged. She slipped under one swing, pivoted, and struck the back of his neck with the heel of her hand. He collapsed flat on the dirt, coughing, unable to rise. The room erupted, not in laughter, not in cheers, but in stunned disbelief. Grown men who'd once worshipped Jack as invincible now looked at him like a fallen idol. Their eyes turned to her, searching for an explanation. Finally she spoke, her voice low, steady as stone. You think strength is in how loud you are, or how hard you hit. But strength don't shout, strength don't brag, strength don't need an audience. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Jack, sprawled on the floor, lifted his head weakly, rage and shame burning his face red. "What are you?" he croaked. The woman looked down at him, her gray eyes colder than steel. "Someone who's buried men louder than you." The silence that followed was suffocating. No one laughed. No one dared. The crowd that once howled with cruel delight now stood hushed, the weight of something bigger than a fight pressing down on them. Jack tried to rise again, but his body betrayed him. His legend shattered in front of his own followers, and all because he thought mocking a simple woman would be harmless. She picked up her bonnet, tied it carefully, and walked out without another word. The doors creaked shut behind her, leaving only the stunned men and the broken fighter on the floor. From that day, the story spread like wildfire across the Black Belt. Not about Jack Carroway, the man who had once beaten any soul brave enough to face him. No, folks whispered about the nameless woman, the storm-eyed wanderer who silenced a whole gym with her fists and her silence. Some swore she was a widow of the war, trained by soldiers. Others claimed she was running from something darker, something that had carved out all her softness and left only steel behind. Nobody knew the truth, but every man who was there remembered one thing clear as the crack of a whip. When Jack Carroway mocked her, thinking she was just a simple woman, what happened next silenced them all. And in the dusty corners of Alabama's Black Belt, silence carried longer than laughter.